Hello, and my name is Crunk Chocolates, and welcome to End of Season Reports, part of Shades of Blues content season, streaming live on FanFest, and also shout out to all of our Patreonies who are watching this on our $3 and $6 monthly tier. Appreciate you helping the podcast grow. But we're here because, it's the off season, and I think we can relax on the tribalism just a bit. So here I am asking some of my favorite people about the clubs in the Premier League or Women's Super League. Today we talk about the WSL. Today we get foxy with Leicester City women. I am super excited to chat with her. Had her on before. Had our guest on before, bringing them back. So nice. We've done it twice. Shady Gang, please give it up for Lynn.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me back.
Of course. Yeah, this is truly, I enjoy catching up, obviously, with anybody that we have on. And I felt like the episode recording previous was good. But so when we were deciding to do this season review series, there was nobody else I wanted to hit up. I hit up a Leicester podcast about the men's side, and they were like, do you mind if we say pass? Like we don't want to really talk about this season.
Just F's across the board.
I know, and I was like, that is completely understandable. Like, I don't want you to be like going into a dark place having to talk about that season again. But hey, y'all aren't relegated. You're fine. You get to face WSL for another season.
Yep.
So yes, I'm super excited to talk about this, but first let me explain how this will go. We have 5 categories. We have kits, which we will talk about the home, away, and third kit. We have manager, squad, supporters, and the front office. What I will ask of you is to grade them American style, A through F, A being best, F being worst, except for there have been a couple people who have thrown in a U. So if there's a category that, they're not doing it there, feel free to do that. I actually
Maybe
like
that's
that nice.
the men. That's the
That is definitely the men. And so because naturally the English so kind, they're like, I'm so sorry. I don't know if this is okay, but I wanted to use a U, and I was like, oh, let's go. I'm here for it. So A through F, you can use pluses and or minuses, to if you're stuck in between a letter grade. And let's get into it. I always love starting with the kits, something fun, a little light, a little cheery before we get into the season. Leicester City, I mean, we know what it is. It's the blue home kit. Also, the squad, as after recently getting promoted, I'm sure they didn't want to get too crazy with the kit, spend too much money on it. But it is, if you look at like the small things, the details of the kit, I actually really like it because there's like the little like yellow on the shoulders, or sorry, on the collar. The white stripes aren't too bad. It's Adidas, and we know how they're kind of growing in the game. No one cares about Nike anymore. But yeah, what are your... Let's see on the side. I was trying to see that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then even on the side, there's a little. Oh, that's nice. This is actually really nice. What are your thoughts on this kit, and what grade would you give it?
Oh, I just think it's unoriginal, and it's Adidas. It's not Leicester. It's like every other Adidas shirt in the Premiership or the WSL, and again, you sign up to these corporate sponsors and you lose your own identity because of it. So, another Adidas shirt comes out and we all look at it and go, yeah, it's a blue Adidas shirt, whatever. So I can't say I was overwhelmed. It's all right. I don't really care. The away kit, when it first came out, everybody just kind of kept going like this at it and squinting, going, "What is that supposed to be?" It looks like someone's vomited on it slightly. So for those that haven't seen it, I can't even possibly describe it. You need to Google it. It's kind of like a black shirt, but then kind of around the outside of it, it's sort of pinky orange blotches.
Yes.
That isn't in the middle.
No, it's not in the middle at all. And even on the outside,
sort of like a loop on your bum as well. Yeah. And you're just like, I don't know what it's trying to do. I don't understand.
And it's a hard cutoff on the sleeves as well. So yeah it's kind of just like I it almost feels like they're trying to go like dreamy, but like you said, it definitely looks like someone just took like spray paint and just went
So you put a template in and then sprayed round it, and I don't know what was going on there. And then the third kit looked okay online. It looked like we'd gone back to quite a nice white kit, but when you actually got in the shop and picked it up, it's slightly off white, so it looks like you've washed it with your black socks.
Oh no. Oh yeah, it is like a almost like white. A grayish white,
but it's not a nice grey either. So you literally walked in the mega store and you went, boring Adidas, someone's vomited on that one, that's gone in the wrong wash.
It looks a little like
really
faded.
Do it for me this season. I really did not want to buy any of them. And then it got worse because the goalkeepers strips are just this hideous kind of 70s drug-addled hallucination of a mess. And then the absolute worst of the worst are the training kits, which are kind of snot green and mustard yellow. It's just vile. And to make it worse, of course, Adidas makes the training kit for Nottingham Forest exactly the same colour. No, do not give our rivals the same colour kits. What are you doing? There was not a lot I wanted to buy this year until they brought out some new women's range stuff, and that was more exciting. I got a very nice new bobble hat. What was nice about the women's kit was we didn't get the BC game logo on it. So the men's kit has got the BC sponsorship. The women didn't go with it, thank goodness. So a lot of people were buying the women's kit. So did
they not have a sponsor then?
King Power. They stuck with the club sponsor. And BC Game has gone horribly wrong. I don't know whether you've been following that saga, but they've been illegal in some countries and going bankrupt here and there. And it's just dodgy as anything. All these cryptocurrency betting sites are just horrific. And we'd lobbied as a trust quite early on that it was not okay. You know, they're all going to be banned after next year. You're not going to be able to have betting companies on the shirts.
Good.
And we cashed in while we could, and it's not gone well. So another reason for me not to buy one of the men's shirts and definitely stick with the women's if I'd wanted to look like I'd been vomited on.
My away kit that I got for City, it's technically Khadijah Shaw, but I specifically put Bunny Shaw. Like I did the customized words and I put Bunny Shaw on the back because I just didn't want Shaw back there because I would fight some United fan if they walk past me and they're like, "Is that Luke Shaw?" I would fight them. I would literally fight them. So I was like, "Nope, I'm just gonna put Bunny Shaw." And I even had a couple people like, "Why would you put that back there?" And I was like, "Because people are stupid, and I'm not gonna give them a chance to be stupid. I'm gonna pay for it." Yeah, and because I was looking at the sponsors, I believe it's 55% of the league is sponsored by gambling sites. Yep.
It's bad.
I was talking about that with one of our Chelsea, because they also have kind of like a betting, and they got it very late at the end of the season. Basically, once they were confirmed that they were going to be in the finals, that's when the sponsorship came, and they were like, "Hey, hi." And I was just like thinking back. I just remember like Liverpool with like the Carlsberg, just even United with some of theirs, like I feel like obviously City had Ineos or not Ineos. Oh my gosh, Ineos. What am I trying to think of? My brain is melted. But I just felt like they were classic, more like it was companies. Or I remember like Dreamcast sponsored some people. Like it was video games, it was televisions, companies, electronics, beer. Even obviously that makes sense because football. It was more things that I guess matched the culture or wanted to get. It made more sense than all of these like crypto just throwing weird money at that, like you said, they're probably going to go belly up within a year or so. But also, I guess get paid, make your money, do what you got to do.
Yeah, but we were in that ridiculous situation in the men's game where two of our players couldn't even wear the logo on the shirt when Jeremy Munger came on for his first, his debut in the Premier League. He couldn't wear a shirt with the logo on because he's 15 and children can't advertise gambling.
So wait, so what do they end up doing?
He had nothing.
They
on
just
his
get blank. Okay.
Shirt, yeah. And it's like, if that doesn't tell you ethically something is wrong here, what does?
Yeah, it reminds me when I go to the grocery store and I'll just go through a random lane and it's just like a kid and alcohol. And they're like, I have to grab an adult to ring this up. 1 second, please. And it's just like, oh, bless your heart. But also I do at the moment, I'm like, oh, I kind of feel a little dirty having to, this kid have to call this adult over just for me to purchase this thing. Yes. Okay. Oh, what were your grades for him then? I know you weren't you were very underwhelmed or possibly whelmed. So what grades would you give him?
Yeah, very underwhelmed. I'd definitely go for a C- this year overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Put these in real quick. All right.
And they never seem to do any sort of like market research. They never ask us what we want or what we like. They don't seem to look at what colours are popular, and they don't do focus groups or anything. Why not, give a few of us a heads up and say, what do you think to this? And we'd go, no, it looks like vomit.
It would be so easy. Yeah, it is frustrating because even with Man City, they usually do a pretty good job with the kits, or even if people hate the kits, once we see them on the players, people change their minds completely. But there's our third kit this year it legitimately has like rain on it, like raindrops. It's like gray with raindrops, and it's like a neon green on like this like piping. Rightfully so, the fan base absolutely lost their minds. Like, and I get it. Like I'm the one where I'm like, okay, just I believe they're gonna figure it out. I feel like once we get it, because the Lightning kit that we had a couple of years ago, that looked horrendous when it was like conceptual and that with the AI and the but once it came out, it was great. I own it. I love the shirt. So I'm being hopeful. I'm being hopeful, but I'm not expecting much. And I get it. Manchester, it rains a lot, like hard. Like I get what they're doing, but it's just I low key hope they scrap it because of the fact that that's how angry overall fan base. It was like me by myself being like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And like I had like that was actually one of the more popular posts that I've done in the last few months, specifically because of how angry it made people.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's move on to your manager,
Okay.
Amandine Mikel.
Yeah.
Had a for Kirk. I mean, I have friends who were hopeful for Leicester City this year. They were like Leicester City and Crystal Palace were two teams that our WSL podcast they were rooting for, and I'm very interested. What are your thoughts on the manager? How did they do, and what grade would you give them?
Okay, so I love Amandine. I was
Mm,
really excited when I first heard her speak and heard her plans and what sort of football she liked playing. She's funny, she's intelligent, she's articulate, and I was really excited for it. And then it started, and we didn't really do much, and it didn't really go anywhere to start with, and we couldn't score any goals still, and we were thinking, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And then she got hit with horrendous injuries. You know, our
mm,
girls were just falling like flies every week. And it was like, we haven't actually got 11 players that we probably normally start now. So she said at the end of the season in one of the Beeb interviews, it's the hardest season she's ever had as a
ooh,
manager, because the injuries were just ridiculous. We had no forwards at one point, and she likes playing attacking football. So there was a little bit of a wobble, I think. You know, we were still floating around at the bottom. Things weren't changing fast enough. And there were a few people on some of the message boards getting a little bit concerned, going, have we got the right person? You know, and there's other people going, give her time, give her time. And she really started to turn it around, even with the injuries. And, you know, since Christmas, our run at home was amazing. We didn't lose, you know, until we got Man City near the end. We were winning and not losing games. And
yeah.
that absolutely has kept us. Our away form shocking. That's still really bad. But we found other people that can score, and she's getting a message across to the players. They're really starting to learn what she wants. We've seen them play faster and stronger.
Yes.
They get stuck in more. They've got more stamina to last to end of games. Um, we haven't been able to
Yeah.
sign, you know, enough sort of better players to move it on. I think as much as she would have liked this season, we've had to
Mm,
make do with kind of what we had, especially with the injuries. But considering the difficulties she had, there's a real feeling of you can see where it's going. And I think by the end of the season, those of us that went to every game, you know, home and away, were feeling quite excited by the end of
mm,
the season of where
that's
it
good.
could go. And she talks about the project, you know, and she's like, right, year two of the project next season is actually really like year one, because I couldn't do anything I wanted to do this year.
That's always
So
fortunate.
yeah, so I love her. I think she's starting to get them to play how she wants to, and we're seeing some really nice attacking football. Um, Defence are pretty solid if they're not playing someone like Arsenal. So I'm going to give Amandine a B, because she had a really difficult season, but she did what she had to do. She kept us up, and she finished higher than last season. And we finished above Spurs. Yay!
Oh man,
I almost gave her an
Spurs.
A just for that.
Oh man, Spurs. They're in such a dark spot. I had chatted with, did our season review for them last week, and the person, Lauren, she went to the end of the year event for Tottenham,
Mm,
and the things we talked specifically what they said before and after we recorded, but long story short, the GM, the ownership, then nobody said, like, they were talking like future, basically. They were just like, yes, we're hoping to win no, actually I think they said we're hoping to battle for a top four position within the next 3 to 5 years. So they didn't even say like we want to win the league
I think
and
everybody says that.
be one of the top clubs in the future. It's like, okay, so what do we do now? And
Mm.
I couldn't imagine being in that spot, having to just like be told by ownership, hey, we're gonna be bad, just deal with it. Like it's one thing to kind of like know and see the writing on the wall, but
Mm.
someone who's being paid a lot of money to make a club better telling you we are where we are, kind of accepted, that would be frustrating to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. At least we know at Leicester that there's a plan for the women. I'm not sure there is for the men, but for the women, Amandine's project is very clearly, again, that like 5-year thing. It's not going to happen overnight. She knows that, but it's about moving up a couple of places for the next few seasons and start challenging the top half, isn't it? I mean, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, not next season, but the season after, because we're going to
Yes.
be getting 14 in the league.
Yeah.
And then we might have different, ups and downs. And if 2 go down, that makes it a little bit more scary when there's a few of you bumbling around at the bottom regularly. So hopefully we'll be out of that by then. So.
Yeah, and just overall, the league has gotten like the bottom clubs have gotten better, and I think
Yes.
in 2 years they'll be even better. And
Yep.
like City, we struggled again. We barely beat Leicester City at the end of the season.
Yeah.
We lost to Everton at the beginning of the season, and that should not have happened. It's nice having that parity. I obviously would always want my teams to win, but when the games are better, the margins, like, yes, Chelsea, they went unbeaten the entire season, but a lot of scrappy 1-0 wins or 2-1 wins.
And even Leicester held them,
Yeah.
What a game that was at the King Power. We loved it.
Yeah, so like it's going to be very fun to see when they get to 14 how that will look, how the league looks, and even that the relegation play-in match between the second before last and the second bottom WSL 2 team like that. I think that's going to be really fun to see because it will totally be like a jump ball type of match. And and your manager, she's young, 40 years old, like still plenty to grow, plenty to learn from. That's actually very cool. I'm sitting here at Man City. We know who our manager is, but we haven't heard anything in like 3 weeks. So now I'm like, do we know who our manager is? It's very interesting. But we're also not the only club in the WSL right now who doesn't have a manager and needs to get that figured out. It's a very weird time in the league right now. Yeah. Okay. Well, good for them. A B. That's very solid. That is very solid. Okay. Well, then let's move to the squad. How do you think the squad did? I mean, obviously you hinted about the injuries, so that always helps you grade on a curve a little bit. So what did you think of the job they did this season, and what grade would you give them?
Playing at home, I'd give them a B. Playing away, I'd give them a D.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. What's going on in the psychology that you can't do it away? It's bizarre, isn't it? Because at home, they absolutely, showed people what they could do, and then away it just fell apart quite often. So we've had a couple of new signings who I don't think have been as exciting as maybe we thought they would be, or they've not settled in yet. But some of the players that have been around for a few seasons now, you can see the improvement in them under Amandine. Missy Goodwin's like a new player. It was like having a new signing.
Yeah.
She gets stuck in. She's faster. She's stronger. So that's been a bit of a revelation. They look like they're enjoying their football under the new manager. They're really gelling as a team. So I think as a squad, there's some, real sort of hopes there. And I think quite a lot of them are in contract. We've lost one so far. Two. Two were at the end of their contract. But hopefully we'll keep the majority of them together next season. Our defence are working really well together. Sophie Howard's just a powerhouse at the back, but she's got, that entire line and a fantastic goalie behind her. So you feel a lot more confident with the attacking football that if you do lose it and they do counter, they're still not going to get past us, as often as they used to. But we just need to really shore up the attackers, and hopefully we'll get Jutta Rantala back. she's been called up to the Finnish team for the Euro, so it looks like she's finally fit again, which will be lovely because she's great running down that wing and crossing it in. So yeah, B at home, D away.
I love it. I'll even put that in at home. D away. Yeah, because you lost Momiki, right?
No, Takarada's gone. The other Japanese
Okay.
girl.
Okay. Yes.
I'd have cried if we'd have lost Mamiki. She was
I know. 'Cause
immense last season.
yes. Yeah. Very good player.
Even though she's 2 foot tall.
She is a tiny person.
Tiny and wins every header. What? How?
Because there was a moment where she was next to Yui, and Yui was like a head taller than her, and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy!"
Yeah, when she's standing to Yanni, the goalkeeper, there's like literally 2 foot difference.
Yeah, and like Chantal Swaby is great. You're definitely, like you said, your defense is where you can hang your hat, and
Absolutely.
if you can just figure
Ruby
out
Mace was a big loss.
Ugh.
Really, really upset for Ruby because she just got called up to England. She might have been at the Euros and then she did a knee, and I was gutted for her. And I don't think we realised how much we missed her until she went. She really, really is aggressive.
Oh, she's amazing. Obviously left City for Leicester City. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of her. I totally thought last year it was going to be a breakout season for her. Because because of her size and, like you said, her aggressiveness, her intensity, people put her as like a holding midfield, a defensive midfielder type.
She always just seems so angry.
Yeah, exactly. But she has said how she technically she wants to be an attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
And I think she got into it with Gareth about that because that's all. Yes, she wouldn't come in for Yui. Like Yui would just be playing 90 minutes every match, and it was like, come on, bruv, let Yui rest. We have Ruby Mace, who is an incredible player. Yeah. And like you said, she got the call up, got injured. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what she can do when she gets back and healthy.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's hold on. That was the wait. Hold on. I didn't. I was a little late on my own notes that I was taking. Let's go. All right. Well, supporters, that I always say whenever I'm able to talk to guests like you who go to the matches and they're able to get a good feel of the team and the season and how things are going. So I'm interested. What are your thoughts on the supporters? How do they do this year? And what grade would you give them?
Obviously A+. It's been an interesting one. We were really hoping that the home, in particular, attendances would grow this year. Everything was picking up. There's more promotion, and the attendances just haven't quite got there, I don't think, that we were expecting. And I don't know whether that's because people are watching more on YouTube. I don't know whether it's because so many games get moved about and, kids are not going to go to evening games, and especially evening games on a Sunday miles away. That's been frustrating. I don't know whether it's the cost of living crisis here in the UK, because, tickets are still really cheap for the women's, but, the kids want snacks and they want this and they want that if you go. So it's a little bit disappointing. I think, obviously, the Euros will reboost things and everything. Hopefully, we'll have that massive push again if England do well at the Euros to increase numbers again afterwards. If you've got an England player in your team, that really helps you. To get bums on seats, which again why we wanted Ruby to be at the Euros. We were like, they will increase our attendance next season. But having said that, the fans that have gone, the regular ones, we're really starting to build up a little bit of an atmosphere at home now. The kids are learning the songs slowly. And it's lovely because it's kind of organic. It's not being forced. It's not like the singing section will sit here and you all do this sort of thing. It's just lovely how it's just naturally growing and people are making friends with who they're sitting next to. And we're all going to sit together next season. And now we're in a WhatsApp group and all the away fans know each other's names now, because there ain't many of us, let's be honest. And the players know us and we have a chat to them every week. And lots of in-jokes and all that kind of thing that grows as your fan base grows and people start, travelling. So the away sport's been really fantastic. It's been small, but it's quality, not quantity, I think.
Yeah, the people are going to show up.
Fun. We have had a lot of fun at the away games, even when we've been beaten regularly and everything's gone horribly wrong and the referees are rubbish again. And you stood on a terrace in the rain and, some battered old non-league ground somewhere. And it's just like, this is proper football, isn't it? This is fun. And, it was so stressful at the men's games all season. It was horrific. It was miserable. I mean, people just didn't want to go for their mental health. Everybody was like, I'm not going. Why would I put myself through that? And then you go to the women's games and they were just a joy. They were fun and silly, but good football and hope, and a bit of a buzz about it. So, yeah, the supporters have made the women's games really enjoyable this season, definitely.
Yeah. I went to a men's and a women's match when I was in England for the week. The vibes were significantly better at the women's match than it was at the men's.
Yeah.
And just obviously the stadiums are smaller, but just the energy of the fan base. I like that there's a lot of like the whole family aspect, the kids, and like it just feels closer, it feels kinder, it feels like you're a part of something special.
Yeah, you really do feel that connection, and it's part of a family again, like it used to be, and what we've lost with the big corporate Premiership teams and some of the Championship stuff. Yeah, for the men.
Yeah, it's I definitely cannot wait to get back, and I want to try to stay long enough where I can go to a couple of women's games, and I guess check out the men. They've done a good job and brought in a bunch of new players, so I would very much like to go to a men's match, but I definitely would much rather go to the women's game and check that out and do more to just kind of like spread the gospel. I will be very interested in the differences, because even this last year, obviously I'm watching all of the games. The way that WPLL is broadcasting things, obviously going to YouTube, that helps it make it more readily available to people instead of FA Player, because that FA Player is very inconsistent when it wants to work.
It was dreadful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. But even like pre-match, like they're usually the players would just kind of like walk on the pitch and then the games would play. But now they're starting to have them like walk through the like tunnels, and they're doing the announcements, and they're getting pyros, and even like halftime, there's like halftime broadcast like shows and interviews from the players, and they'll show like a specific team supporter group and they're telling them about it's things like that. Next is obviously like halftime shows where they'll actually have like a team and talking about the games and stuff like that. Like they need to, we can only take it as seriously as the WPLL can take it. Like we can go to every game, we can cheer them on as much as we want, but if there's not someone to be like, hey, this is cool, hey, this is great, you should pay attention to it, then what are they really going to do once you get it in front of people and you turn the game on and then you hear all the cheering and all the excitement? And also like one of the best, like you can definitely tell they're using like Premier League's old cameras or Premier League's like not good cameras, because like there are moments where it's super blurry or where they have to be on the stadium, like it's super high. And just raindrops covering the screen, and then someone has to like rub it off. Like they're just silly things. Exactly. It stuff like that, though, it is kind of endearing because you're just like,
And
oh my
one of the
gosh.
things that's quite interesting this season has been part of the Foxes Trust, were obviously affiliated with the Football Supporters Association, the FSA, and their women's network is fantastic. Debs, who runs it, does some really good stuff. And we were actually involved in the discussions with the new company about the enlargement of the, WSL. And you wouldn't get that with the Premier League. They
No,
wouldn't
not at
get
all.
20 fans on a call with the chief exec and the chief operating officer,
Oh,
and the
cool.
director of this and the director of that, going, right, this is confidential. This is what we're planning to do. What do you reckon? And I was going, well, we don't like that option. That option's crazy. Don't even think about it. But go for that middle one. And they did.
I love that, though.
So there was a lot of consultation actually with supporters about, moving to 14 teams and that kind of stuff, which was lovely to be, heard, really.
Yes.
Which is
Yes.
nice as supporters.
Yeah. Hey, and they asked y'all, so that obviously they think you're gonna be there for a bit. They're not expecting you to go. Okay, well, final category is the front office.
Where do we
Ooh.
start? Okay, let's try and be nice.
I mean, you don't have to be.
we have issues at the club as a whole. The women, are a separate team, but they're under the umbrella. They, became King Power, took them on, made them professional. It's 2 teams, 1 club. That's the banner. But obviously the men's stuff is still propping the women's up to an extent. They're subsidising it. It's not sustainable on its own yet to pay for itself. So when the men's side get into a bit of bother, it does make you a little bit nervous about how is that going to impact on the women's, obviously. Yeah. What's the budgets? Is it going to be a knock-on to the women? So obviously the men have got themselves relegated. KP over in Thailand are in a mess and losing money hand over fist. And if you believe the Sun, going out of business any second, but I wouldn't believe the Sun, let's be honest. Some of the Thai reports are a bit more balanced. But there's obviously some bumpy roads ahead. So we've got a real mixed picture with what's going on behind the scenes. You've got some really good people do some really good work, and then there's other areas where you think, what are you doing? Why are you in a job? The women's director of football, Lisa, went several months ago and they didn't replace her. And some of that was partly to do with, if the men get relegated, what sort of budgets will we have? Will we be restructuring, I think? So we've kind of been floating around without a director of football. Now, whether that's good, bad, or doesn't matter, I don't know. Who knows what they do on a day-to-day basis and who's been doing it instead. So there's all that kind of stuff going on behind the scenes. There's obviously not going to be a huge amount of money for new players and transfers. We've got really good support for the women's team from the club. They do believe in it and they really want to support it. And there's some really interesting stats about how much more merch you can sell to women's supporters than men's.
Yeah.
So there's big money to be had if you can start getting bums on seats at women's games, because they spend more in the shop. So they're not daft about some of that sort of stuff. So there's some interesting marketing stuff going on. The head of fan engagement is really supportive of the women's game and is there every match, etc., and meets with us regularly. So that's really good. So there's some good stuff going on in some pockets of the club for the women. For the men, there's obviously a lot of unrest at the moment. We don't know if Rude's still going to be the manager in a few days. We don't know whether we're going to get points deductions from the, EPL, etc., EFL. So it's a mess. And there's a lot of fans really, really angry and upset with the lack of comms, how it's been run, poor appointments, poor sign-ins, how we've treated the managers. So it's messy, and again, it makes the women's look really quite well run in comparison, even though it's pretty much exactly the same people. It's bizarre. It really is. How can you get this bit so right over here, and this bit over it's going so wrong?
It's
Um,
and what interests me is in comparison to the men's game, how little money you can spend and still have a decent squad, still bring in good players, and that's what constantly frustrates me. Like,
yeah, I mean, they published the latest accounts a couple of months ago, and it's what, 4 million or something for the whole women's setup for the whole year. That wouldn't pay Vardy for more than about 3.5 weeks, would it? Do you know what I mean? it's crazy.
yeah, and so like it just, I wish, like they already, like I know the Premier League, they, like you said, they subsidize any of the clubs that also have a women's team. Like, hey, we will actually mark this off. It doesn't count to PSR. Like, have fun, go crazy. Like, and it counts so little against PSR. Chelsea were able to sell their own club to themselves to help the men's team. And that's also why it's like I don't understand why teams aren't trying to take that more seriously, because obviously it's almost similar to academy players where it's free money. If you're able to make anything from them, you should try to figure out what is the best ways to market, to profit. I think City does a really good job because they have so many national team players for so many different countries.
Yeah.
So now they're like the club for some, like, hell, we have like 6 Japanese players on our team. So we're basically like the WSL team for Japan. And if they're able to, if other teams are able to do something very similar, or even with Leicester City, do almost like a Brighton does on the men's side, like get these younger players and be like, hey, we understand we might just be a stepping stone for you, but come here, do great for a season or two, and then you can leave for money for us, and you can go to a different team, and we're all happy.
Started with us.
Yeah.
I mean, Leicester are quite good at bringing the youngsters through. That's one of the shining things in the men's again this year, that the amount of youngsters that now look like they're coming through again. There's been a bit of a blip, and I don't know whether it's COVID related or what was going on, but we've started getting it right again in the academy. Now, I think we're seeing that in the girls as well. We've got quite a strong girls academy coming through. Nice. When they first started, we had to have a bit of a fight because the girls had to pay to be in the academy and the boys didn't. And I went, I'm not having that. What are you doing? And that's all changed now. So I think we're building quite a strong academy for the women, and we've seen Nellie Lass come through recently. She looks like she's going to be absolutely amazing, and she's been playing for the England unders this week and got her first cap and everything. So I'm hoping that we're going to get the academy right for the women like we have for the men, which would be good.
Yes, definitely. Wow, this was a wonderful conversation. I really do appreciate you giving me some of your time, Lynn.
No problem.
Your knowledge, your genius. I appreciate it. Please plug yourself. Let people know where they can find you and the things that you do.
Yep, so Fox's Trust, the official supporters trust for Leicester City, men and women. So holding the club to account, making sure they run properly. It's hard work at the moment. But we've started branching out. We're doing lots more community type stuff. Myself and 2 of the board members slept out overnight at the King Power Stadium to raise money for homelessness this year. So we want to do lots more community work as well. And we're just doing the end of season survey, and we've had really good response so far. We've had thousands of people because they're all peed off this season. So they want to have their say. So foxestrust.co.uk, find us on all the socials as well. And if you're a Leicester City fan, fill our survey in and have your say. We will be sitting down with the club and going through it with them and going, oh, fans are happy about this, but you're doing all right here.
Love that. I love that. No, that's very cool. Well, Shady Gang, we're good for today. We will be back tomorrow. Everton men, Man City women. It's gonna be a great time tomorrow. So until then, you know the vibes. Shady gang, shady gang, shady.